those among us and those who have left us. Will the youngest child please stand or be held up? To honor African life, will those sisters carrying a child in their sacred African womb please stand?
Mud animal again. No, this white man said about his people that they were without cultivation of any thought, destitute of memories, and too devoid of understanding even to conceive hope. That's cold. He goes on and adds that the black race then existed in all the pomp of social state. It covered entire Africa with powerful nations sprung from it. It possessed Arabia and had planted its colonies over all the meridional coast of Asia and very far into the interior. An infinity of monuments which bear the African character still exist in our day, in all those latitudes, and attest to the grandeur of the people to which they belong. That was quite a statement for a white man to make in 1915. Quite a statement for him to make. But it's the truth that you cannot get around no matter how deep they cover it. It's going to come to the light. Can you hold it for question and answer, miss? I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, we know and we understand clearly, and that's just one of the statements, that the African race was not only the first race on earth, but the only race for hundreds of thousands of years, perhaps millions, and the first civilizers. There was no civilization before us. I'm going to read now of the African woman's role in this generative process, this African genesis we're talking about. And it's a flyer here that's on, that describes the book African Woman, the Original Guardian Angel. And it says that it is a collection of writings on the black woman's creation of. Her what? Not contribution to. You know, that they like that word, contribution. Blacks' contribution to America. I don't deny that. But I didn't make just a contribution to the world. I created the world. Not just contributed to it. The only thing about the contribution that brings any glory to us is that we were able to do something in spite of the degradation heaped upon us. But it is not the thing which really speaks to our glory as a people. So we didn't just contribute to, so I'm tired of this every year in February talking about blacks' contribution, or black folks standing up before white folks talking about, we made some contributions too, you know. Please acknowledge them, Master. I love my people, that's why I talk like that. Her creation of an ongoing contribution to world civilization. This work sets forth documented proof that the original African woman is the mother of all living. And we will discuss that with a little more detail as we go on today. The mother of all living. Nobody would exist on planet Earth if it were not for the African woman. So next time somebody try to get you to burn your hair out your head, to cover your face up with false face, I'm not picking on you now, but I'm just talking about this now. And you go to the modeling schools and they tell you, tuck it under. It was a symbol of beauty all over the world, but I'm running ahead of myself again. I get excited about this. See? You're the mother of all living. You're in the standard for the world, not Miss Ann. You're the one. She may be Miss Ann, but you're the mother. She was also the first to develop agricultural science. Folks did not know how to feed themselves beyond meat until the African woman came up with the system. Let me tell you a little story. I'm trying not to keep you long, but I got so much walking through my head. They say that during the hunter-gatherer stage, when men were axe throwers and spear slingers, throwers and axe swingers, the risk of survival and your occupation was always very hazardous. As I talked about Brother Lion or whatever you were going hunting that day, there was always you could end up being the bag of groceries that he took home. Or she, because the she lion is the baddest of them all. Or whatever. And then my wife say, well, baby, lions don't eat people, whatever they were hunting. And find out you would have hunted. It was the African woman who said, this is too great a risk to take just to feed your stomach. There's got to be a better way. She studied the berries on the branches. She studied how the seed fell to the ground. And she went back and experimented and began to develop something with it. One day, Brother Man come home from the hunt, slinging his piece of lion meat. Hey, mama, hey, children, we're going to eat good tonight. Break out the fire. Let's throw this lion steak on the grill. So she was cooking the lion steak, and when she put the plate in front of him, he saw some little green things on the plate and some little yellow things. Say, honey, what's this? She said, taste it. He tasted it. He said, oh, this is good. She said, that's corn. He said, well, what's that green stuff? It's lima beans. What you call that? Succotash, honey. Say, you like that? Say, yeah, baby. Well, wait a minute. Sister Sapphire down the street got something for me. Let me take her a few of these corn and these here lima beans, and I'm going to trade off with her. And that was the beginning of Wall Street, beginning of world trade. She went down there, Sister so-and-so, Sister Sapphire had some yams. She brought the yams back and hooked them yams up and threw them on the plate. He ate them yams, jumped straight up in there. Wow, Lord, I ain't never tasted nothing like this. She said, well, you know, honey, all you got to do is plant the seed and reap the harvest on this. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to be groceries or whether you're going to get groceries. If you plant the harvest, you will get, if you plant right, the harvest will come, honey. So you mean we can eat? She said, you can eat like this all the time. And you don't even have to go back out there after that line no more, baby. You can stay home and do some other things. Build your pyramid or something. You know, something like that. Find out what them things is twinkling up there in the sky, what that, all that is. Maybe you can come up and invent astronomy or something. Teach us something about this and the seasons. You don't have to worry about it. He said, yes. She said, I got one other thing for you too, baby. And she went out there in the back where she had a grape harbor, and she had stepped on it in the barrel, and she brought it back in, and she set it before him. She said, sip this. He said, oh, baby, what is this? She said, it's homemade wine, and I danced in it with my pretty black feet. He said, no. He read back. He said, I could get used to this. Then she put some incense on and some pretty music for him that she was playing, and she had invented the instrument of the harp, and she's playing the music, and brother, after a while, got that he didn't want to leave house. She had to put him out. That's just a little story to illustrate the benefits of agricultural lifestyle as opposed to hunter-gatherer lifestyle. It was an African woman who created that for us, and we are very indebted to her for that. The world is indebted to her for that. She created an alphabet and mathematics, were first devised by the African woman, Set, or as the Greeks call her Isis, the mother goddess of ancient Kemet, is said to have invented alphabet and mathematics, which she taught to Jehuti, who the Greeks call Thoth. She devised scripts for writing, and she established educational and social systems. In essence, she was the spiritual impetus for all scientific investigation in the ancient world. We would have still been running around chasing food, trying to find ways to fill up our stomach if it had not been for our inspiration to move us to higher levels to recognize our mental and spiritual being as people. And therefore, we began to grow and become more God-like, become more in tune with the creative force. The black woman was also the first builder of houses. Houses on the continent, when they are practicing their indigenous culture, are built in the round, because the house represented the extension of the woman's womb, One of the Kemetan words for house, ker, is the same as the word for mother. It's also per, and is used in the word Paris, the city of Paris, which is named after what the Greeks call Isis, which was the African goddess Aset. That's where the whole idea of houses and cities came from. It was an extension of the womb of the African woman. As Dr. Yusuf Benjachanan says, and I am in total agreement with him, that the only heaven that man ever really knew was the womb, vagina of woman. And that to be born again is to have the privilege to return to it in the midnight hour. And even at my age, I try to go back to heaven as often as I can. But you have to go in the right spiritual attitude. You have to approach each other as holy beings, which you are. You see, as the sacred and divine vessel of God, of the universe, Queen Mother of the universe, and you as a king, therefore you will never misuse or abuse or allow it to be this debased the way it is today. Come on, baby, let's do it. All the ugly things some of those groups are saying, those things, whenever you debase your woman, you cannot rise above a particular level as a man. And you'll never be respected in the world as a man. When somebody can come in and abuse and misuse your mama, they have no respect for you as a man. And every African woman represents your mother. Am I clear on that? Let's move on now. Let's get to these slides, all right? You ready for that? Or you want me to shut up and go home? I'm going to ask my daughter and Jamie to help me out with the slides now, baby. We're going to have us an exhibit here. This is a traveling exhibition. We'll see if we can cover these 20 slides here today. And Jamie, the slides, baby. I'm certain that by now most of you are familiar with this cover of Newsweek, published January 11, 1988. It was an astonishing cover for a European publishing company to produce. It was stating a truth that was inescapable. And it says here, an article entitled, "The Search for Adam and Eve. Scientists explore a controversial theory about man's origin." And the subtitle of the article says, "Scientists claim to have found our common ancestor, a woman," a what? "Who lived 200,000 years ago." I want you to just think on those figures a minute. 200,000 years ago, this woman lived. And it says that she left resilient genes carried by all of mankind. And we will establish that this was an African woman who lived 200,000 years ago. There were no Europeans anywhere in the world. No idea of a European. There was not even anything to develop that a European could develop out of in the world at that time. Only Africans existed. 200,000 years. Just think on those figures. We're confined to these few years that we have while we're here, or the few years of history that Europeans choose to teach us about in school. And we have a history we can know goes back at least 200,000 years. I know it goes back further than that. But notice here that even though they made them bloods, apricot in their features, they had to Jerry curl them up. White man's only capable of telling the half-truth. He can never tell it all. Never tell it all. Exhibit 2 in Jamin. Now this is one I call "Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing, Baby." This is a real thing. This is an artist's conception of Adam and Eve, which is just one of the many stories of the origin of human beings on earth. One of the many cosmogonies that were taught around the earth by Africa. Notice the background here. Notice Mount Kilimanjaro in the back and the African animals there. They're at the foot of the mountains of the moon, which is where Eden began. The word Eden simply means, and don't get angry with me for demystifying it, it simply means a garden paradise. That's all it means. It's not some mystical place that floats out of Hollywood or down out the sky. That's what Eden means. And the first Eden that anyone know anything about was at the foot of the mountains of the moon. For that's where humanity started. Not in Mesopotamia, not anywhere else, not in Asia, not in Europe. It started there on the continent of Ishakamuland, misnomer Africa, at the foot of the mountains of the moon. So this is the more proper artist concept of it. Let us move on to Exhibit 3. According to this article recorded in Newsweek, this African woman who lived about 200,000 years ago was codenamed by a group of scientists from Berkeley and Emory University. They codenamed her Eve, which means mother of all living. That's all. And they say that this woman that lived among a group of women who resided in the southeast portion of the mother continent, and where's the mother continent? That's right, probably called Ishakamuland. This woman is the mother of everybody else on earth. How did they know that? The next exhibit. The mitochondrial DNA. All right, let's deal with that now as we travel the deoxyribonucleic acid trail, as we seek to rediscover the origins of humanity and the African woman's role in the generative process, in the genesis origin of things. Now this is an artist's conception of the human cell. The nucleus of the cell has DNA, the genetic material which determines who and what you will be in life, is a mixture of genes from both parents. That's from the paternal and the maternal, from the mother and the father. But the mitochondrial DNA is inherited only from the mother, and it is through the study of these that scientists were able to trace back the mother, back all human beings to this one human being, this one African woman who lived about 200,000 years ago. Modern human being, fully Homo sapiens sapien on the mother continent. You could not trace the paternal, but you can trace the maternal. Even today that's difficult sometimes. Mama always knows. As Dr. Ben say, I go along with the story. You know, she say, out of father, I go along with the story. Not that our women can't be trusted. He just says that as a joke. But you always know who mama is. And scientists have proven that fact. This mitochondrial DNA, this maternal deoxyribonucleic acid, is the one to which we can trace all humanity. And I'm reading from that article now and quoting biologist Rebecca Kahn of the University of Hawaii, who had formed a team there, and there was a team in New Guinea and Australia that got 147 women of Asian, African, and European extraction to donate their placentas to the scientific research. And in studying those placentas and the cell material in those placentas, the mitochondrial DNA in those placentas, they were able to trace the origin of humanity ultimately back to this one woman, this mother of all human beings who lived on the mother continent of Ishakamuland. And she says this: most evidence insofar indicates that Eve lived in sub-Saharan Africa. She lived where? Sub-Saharan Africa. Land of the blacks, with no question. The evolution from archaic to modern Homo sapiens, a scientific term for wise or thinking man, seems to have occurred in only one place. Occurred where? See, I want you to talk to me. I don't want to be the only one talking today. If you're getting tired now, I'll stop. You all right? It occurred in only one place. I want you to understand that. In your backyard, in your homeland, for some reason, Almighty God and the forces of nature decided that there was only one place on earth worthy for the development of humanity. And that place was your motherland, my motherland, Mother Africa. No place else was worthy for the development of human beings but this place, this one place on the planet Earth. That's something to think about. That's a wondrous thing to think about. And it makes me say every morning when I wake up and look in the mirror, thank God I'm an African. I'm not putting anybody else down. I'm just thanking God that I am an African, that I am a part of the eternal force on earth, the divine intelligence that created the planet Earth and decided that the right and proper place for human beings to begin to develop and to give civilization and spread it throughout the world is the mother of all continents, our cable land, Mother Africa. It's just a wonderful thing to be in Africa. And I thank God. Somehow maybe I could have been made something else. But I'm glad that the forces of nature said, no, we count you worthy to be in Africa. That in itself tells me that I have contained within my genes everything I need to do everything that I have to do. And as long as I understand this about myself, no matter what kind of obstacles they put in my way, I can say like the elders, trouble is in my way, but I'm going on through. Nothing can stop me from getting to where I'm going. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no river wide enough to stop me from getting to where I'm supposed to go. When we understand that about ourselves, they cannot keep us trapped in the conditions that we're in now. The only thing that keeps us trapped in that condition is our state of consciousness about ourselves. But when we know who we are, we can begin to consciously do something about changing the condition we're in. Y'all forgive me, but I'm a preacher as well as a historian. And I feel the spirit moving now. As the Honorable Marcus Garvey taught us, peace be upon that great black man. Said if 400 million black folks, that's how many it was in the world back in 1925, could get to know themselves, to know that in them is a sovereign power, an authority that is absolute. Within the next 24 hours, we could have a new empire, a new race, a new nation, not resurrected from the will of others to see us rise, but from our own will and determination to rise, irrespective of what the world might be. That man was moved by the Spirit of God when he wrote those words. And it's true. If we can teach our babies nothing else, we must teach them that. This world is yours by divine birthright. You don't have to ask nobody for your rights. You go take your rights. That's what you do. And you begin right in your own spirit, in your own soul. So that can nobody keep you down. If they can't break your spirit, they cannot break you. Even if they put you in prison. As Jesus, Jerusalem Slim told him. He stood before Pilate. He said, my kingdom not of this world. I'm not worried about you Romans. Nothing bothers me. You may kill the body, but you cannot kill the soul. I will be back. And the Honorable Marcus Garvey said that. He said, if I die in the whirlwind in Atlanta, don't worry about it. Look for me in the whirlwind and the storm, for I will return. Right. Carrying the red, black, and the green with the millions of Africans following me to the reestablishment of the liberty of Africa, because Africa will be free one day. All of Africa and wherever her children are on the planet Earth. Let me try to get back to this, y'all. This occurred in only one place. Eve's family, this black woman, this African woman on the mother continent. Then sometime between 90,000 and 180,000, we're talking some big figures here. We're talking big money here, long figures. A group of her progeny left their homeland, and this is what this European scientist says, endowed apparently with some special advantage. With what? over every tribe of early humans they encountered. Now, am I teaching racism? This a white person said this. Said these black people had a special advantage over every other being they encountered. Neanderthal and whatever else notwithstanding, only these Africans had this special advantage. They were the only ones. As they fanned out, Eve's descendants replaced the locals, eventually settling the entire world. This is my planet. It belongs, and the reason why the extraterrestrial beings, and I don't want to get into that, haven't landed, because they can't talk to the leader yet. The leader's not in control. The people who's supposed to, they know who the planet is supposed to be with. They understand that. But I'm not going, because I don't want you to think I'm being spooky. Let me let that alone. I have to speak with concrete evidence, hard evidence. Let me have that one back. I would recommend that you read the book, Monuments on Mars. Sphinx and the pyramids that date back 500,000 years. Favor those in Kemet, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. Let's move on. Y'all all right? Yeah. Stands to reason that if this is the mother, there only could be one father. There wasn't any other human beings on Earth at the time. Europeans didn't appear till somewhere between 20 and 25,000 years. They emerged out of the last ice age, out of the warm glacial, as they called it, or the worm glacial, as they called it. So they weren't around. There wasn't anybody else for to hook up with. And she certainly wasn't going to hook up with any of the Neanderthals, because they just wasn't up to her. And the scientists say that in that article. So they all they could say was ugh and oog, and you got the raptor, Sister Sapphire, if you want to get somewhere. I can see her putting her hand on her hip saying, and you just came out your mouth with the wrong thing. I document that in the book, African Woman, the Original Guardian Angel. Exhibit 5. Brothers, I know I've been talking so much about the role of the African woman in the generative process. I want you to know that I haven't forgotten, and I well know and understand the role of the male in that process. The reason why I had to put so much emphasis on the female is because that information has not been shared as well as it should have. In order to arrive at a balance, we had to put the emphasis there. But we know quite well the role of the male. And here we have one of our high culture scientific symbols of the deity Ptah. And Ptah here is shaping the cosmic egg on the potter's wheel. What is that? That's some heavy stuff there. Some heavy stuff. Human beings, Africans understood before anybody else on earth the role of the male in the procreation process. Europeans did not understand it. Even after we taught it to them, they didn't understand it. That's why they came up with religions where they would castrate themselves. What do I mean? They thought that the birth of children was totally the prerogative of the female. And when they saw the blood, the afterbirth with the child coming forth, they said, well, they're associated with blood. They said, well, yeah, we can deal with the blood because one of our first gods was Mars, and we used to take a sword and cut off our enemy's head and drink blood out of his skull and pour blood over the sword and give homage to our god Mars. So we can dig the blood thing. Blood is what we into. So they went off in their secret societies, and their own writings plugged each other in the behind, as the Greeks did so often and others. Because as Michael Bradley tells us, they suffered from ambiguous sexual dimorphism. That is, they couldn't figure out whether they wanted to be male or female. And they ended up hating the female because they couldn't be the female. And after they went with each other, and then cut each other up, thinking they could have a child that way, and it wouldn't happen that way, that's when Europeans decided we will dominate the woman, and we will determine who the child is, and the child will come out under our name, and we can buy and sell them on the market. And that's exactly what they did. And that's why you still have the struggle going on between the white feminist and the white male today. That has been going on for some 20,000 years. Some 20,000 years. All because he couldn't be a woman. And you'll find, if you'll observe carefully, in cities where you have a high homosexual rate, you also have a higher rate of what? Rape. Watch the statistics. Because rape is not a sexual crime. It's a crime of a male seeking to dominate a female. And often, homosexual males will do that because they cannot beat her, therefore they will dominate and debase her. That will happen. Check that out. You live in a society that predicates what they do based on going to Harvard and Oxford, where these freshmen are called fags. You live in a society where in the upper crust, homosexuality is acceptable. It's just whatever your sexual preference is. Those low-class people don't understand. You look at the Greek society, you look at the Roman society. All that homosexuality. That is because within his heart, he wants to be two things that he cannot be. One is he wants to be a woman, and the other he wants to be black. And whatever he cannot be, he turns on. And he figures if I cannot be it, the next best thing to do is what? Conquer it, pull it up under me, and destroy it. That's his psyche, that's how he thinks. And I'm not saying this to be mean or be a racist in reverse. If you don't understand this about him, you are on very unsafe ground. You don't know who you're dealing with. You keep running up in that man's face talking about love me and I love you in the name of Jesus, in the name of Muhammad, in the name of Allah, in the name of Buddha, in the name of first one thing and the other. He does not understand that kind of language, even though he may articulate it. As Brother Malcolm said, you all are not speaking the same language. Say, how could you all be worshiping the same God? He calling on Jesus and stringing your butt up in a tree, and you calling on Jesus, asking him to get you down out the tree. Y'all just are not communicating, even though you're using the same words. It means something altogether different. Peace means something altogether different to him than it means to us. Peace means acquiescence to him. Peace to us means justice and equality. So when you talk about peace, you all are talking about two different things. And we go to the table and say, well, he said he wanted peace. And he smiled and patted us on the back and said, come in and talk anytime. Everything's going to be all right now. It's my blue-eyed soul brother. And then he said, but when things go bad, you said, but you said, I ain't say nothing like that. I said peace. But peace means, he said, no, this is what peace means. Either you do what I want or you won't have any. The cosmic egg, we understood that all things in the universe move in an elliptical circle. And we knew that all human beings in the world that populated the world came from an egg. So in their science, they called it the cosmic egg, or the divine vortex. They watched water as it goes down a drain, moving in the same way as the fallopian tube in a woman's vagina. All that was a part of their great science, and it was reverence. If you were to debase the body of the African woman, you'd be killed on the spot in those days. It was sacred in all the world. Let me move on. I don't have much further to go. You all right? We got a little more time? All right. I can hear my family say, now, come on, Daddy, we got to get back up the road. Let's have exhibit. Oh, and the potter's wheel also represents 360 degrees. It's a heavy science if we could only touch on. All right, let's have the next exhibit. Here's my baby, misnomered the Venus of Willendorf. Rediscovered, because there's nothing discovered in the world today. Everything's rediscovered. Everything that's known in the world today has been known by African folks many, many years ago. But white folks feel until they find out about it, it don't exist. Rediscovered in Lower Austria in the year 1909. And they date her somewhere between 20 and 30,000 years before the present. Probably she's older than that. But look at this. And they say she might be the earliest form, reproduction of the human form known to date. That is questionable. Look at this system. Look at the steel topogea. That's the ample posterior that was worshipped all over the ancient world between 40 and 100,000 years ago. Still worshipped by a lot of us bloods today. Look at that healthy woman. Now this type of figurine has been exhumed from graves in Europe in Russia, in Siberia, all over the world. They were created by the Nubian Grimaldis. Now they call them Grimaldis because they first began to find them in grave sites in Grimaldi, Italy, and in Menton, France. But the proper name for them is Nubian-Grimaldi because they are not indigenous to there. They came from Nubia in Akabu land and traveled and brought culture to Europe. They were the first Europeans, the first to establish anything in Europe. And all of the artifacts that you find there in the caves and other places are the products of these brilliant Nubian Grimaldis, not the Cro-Magnon man who came later, whom many European anthropologists, Eurocentric anthropologists seek to accredit with the high culture system of the Nubian Grimaldi. Exhibit 7. And I call this one Ancient Glory of the Cornrowed Hairstyle. It's little terracotta out of burnt earth stone. Look at that hair up close there. Cornrowed hair. They were doing that 40,000 years ago. Nothing new. Nothing new about it. And it was a hairstyle that was a crown of great beauty. That's why the emphasis is placed on it. The emphasis is placed on the hairstyle because it was a crown of glory. She wasn't burning it out. Again, I'm not picking with you. Maybe I can save you some time and money. When you get ready to put your hand in that hair, man, you put in that grease, man, that turns you off. You want to put it in that nice, soft bush, man. Nothing. I moves me like that. I can't speak to nobody else. Nothing moves me like that, man. Nothing. I get to talking that heavy talk. Emphasis on the breast because of the nurturing power. There was nothing pornographic about this. These were all sacred things in the ancient world. And of course, the rest of the voluptuous being, which demonstrates her abilities, her power to bring life into the world, and the emphasis on the vagina and things like that. All of these were very sacred. The next exhibit. These next two exhibits, this one and the following one, the next one, I call Africoid female figurines the original guardian angels. These are just two of the many that have been unearthed in Europe and other places. And they date somewhere about 40,000 years ago. Of course, they were created by the Nubian Grimaldi sculptures as sacred icons for the last rite of passage. It was believed, brothers and sisters, 100,000, I got to walk with this one. Hold on, let me get this out of here. It was believed 100,000 years ago that the only way a person could get to heaven when they died is to carry with them a symbol of the African woman. Or you could not make the journey to the other side. So they had these figurines buried. The more you had buried with you, the better were your chances. Some of them they dug up had wings on them, and that's where the idea of an angel receiving you from your grave and taking you up to heaven came from in Islamic and Christian and Judaic mythology. That's where the whole idea comes from. They said they felt this way about it. The spirit and the energy that brought me here through the womb of my mother must also be the spirit and the energy that takes me away from here. When I leave, take me safely. And when he was deposited in the belly, in the bosom of Mother Earth, he had to take something that represented. The pharaohs of Egypt had them carved into their coffins. They had an image of Nuit, the sky god, so that this fine black woman could lay on top of him throughout eternity. That's where I want to go. And some of them even had it on the back. He wanted to be covered from both sides. The only way you could make it safely home in your journey to heaven was to have an image of the black woman so that the spirit, as in India they call it the Shakti, received you with the divine kiss of eternal bliss and took you on to glory. That was the ancient belief of African people so long ago. That's why they spoke of Mother, Father, God. That's where the whole idea of guardian angels came from. And you will see it in ancient Kemet. When you see the pharaoh on his throne, you see him flanked by what? Aset, and never catch. And they're covering him with their what? Their wings. Listen to the tape and read the book. Let me go. I'm trying to give you too much all at once. Let me go on here now. Let's go to slide 10, exhibit 10. You still with me? I'm going to cut it off soon because I know no time's running out. We entitled this one, Nubian Beauty Queens Past and Present. This is one of those images that was found in the grave site of the Nubian Grimal. I mean, there are literally hundreds, perhaps thousands of them which have been exhumed. White folks say, what in the world is this we keep finding? These are obviously African women. And we know when they found the remains, the skeletal remains, they were buried in the fetal position. And they examined the skeletons and found that they were Africoid in physiology. What are they doing up here in Europe? Because there wasn't nothing else on earth at the time. This symbol of steel topography, this ample posterior, was worshipped all over the world and provided, in fact, the African woman's body was the basis, or is the basis, for all religious symbology which exists of every religion in the world today. And maybe you want to ask me about that in question and answer if we have time for it. We'll see. You got a minute? Can I just read a little something on that, just briefly? Yes, sir. You know, when we come, we got so much to share, and we know you got to go to work tomorrow and everything, and we don't want to hold you too long, you know what I mean? On page 47 of African Woman, the original Guardian Angel said the original black woman was the first model and standard of feminine beauty. The first beauty queen in the world. So you don't have to make up for anything. You don't need to put on no makeup. You already got it. Take good care of what you have. Oil it right and keep it right and keep your skin, keep all them chemicals off your skin and keep from messing it up. I can't tell you what to do now, so don't get angry. Sister, don't get angry. I love you still. Either way you come to me, I love you. But I got to tell you about this as your brother. She represented the epitome of graciousness, the sublime elegance of her corn-rolled or bushy hair, the dignity of her facial comeliness with her broad nose and delectable full lips. There is nothing like the African woman's lips. Brothers know what I'm talking about. Nothing like them lips that can cover your nose, man. That string you out. Man, go home after they come back from a date, and if she liked you on the date, and she drape one of them soul kisses on it, lip cover your whole face, man, can't go sleep. Her phone ring, hey, honey, I was thinking about you. Couldn't help it. Think about them big, pretty lips. And they taste so good. Please take that lipstick off. Boy, nothing tastes as bad as that bit of lipstick. If I want to kiss lipstick, I'll go get me some Avon or Helena Rubinstein. But you the one, and they are sweet. They are, and it is true. I know it from my own personal experience of 52 years, and I've been in love seriously at least 35 times. Say it. I mean it. Serious. That the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Her broad nose and delectable full lips and the awe-inspiring curves of her voluptuous form was the subject of artists all over the world around 40,000 years ago. That's all they could do. That's all they could paint about. They couldn't paint about nothing else. Carve about nothing else. That fine black woman. Preoccupation of the day. Brothers get together first thing they talk about. They be standing on the corner talking about a ball game. Sister come by and subject changed. Have mercy, Lord. Sister know that too. That's why she come by that corner. Do it with respect, though, brothers. Remember, she represents your mother. She represents the queen mother of the universe. You respect her, and don't you allow anybody else to disrespect her at any time. At any time. She's the best that the Creator could give to you. She makes the difference between you being in a savage state and a civilized state.
Black love supreme, black love supreme, black love supreme, black love supreme, black love. Keep it going, brothers, keep it going. Black love supreme. Yeah. Black love. Sisters, get ready now, sisters. Black love supreme. Black love. Yeah, 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 yeah. Sisters. Black love. Yeah, 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 yeah. Pick it up some, brothers. Black love. Yeah, 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 yeah. Black love. Yeah, 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 yeah. Keep it going. Black love supreme. Black love supreme. Black love supreme, black love supreme, black love supreme, black love, keep it moving. Black love supreme, black love supreme, black love. The Creator has a master plan. Black love, peace and happiness for every black man. The Creator has a master plan. Peace and happiness for every black man, woman, and child. The Creator has a master plan. Peace and happiness through all the land. The Creator has a master plan. Happiness through all the land. There was a time when peace was on the earth, and joy and happiness did reign, and each man and woman knew his worth. In my heart, how I yearn for that spirit's return, and I sigh as time flies. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. The Creator has a master plan. Peace and happiness to all the land. Peace and happiness to all the land. Peace and happiness to all the land. A little softer now. Softer still. Softer. Sounds so good, softer. To a whisper now. One more time and we'll end it on om. Now open your eyes slowly. Look around the room. Isn't it beautiful? And say one to the other, I am. I am. Because you are. Because you are. And because we are. Because we are. I am. I am. Look around some more and say, you all I need. You are all I need. With you, I can do anything. I can do anything. With you, I will do all things. I will do all things that are necessary. That are necessary to be done. To be done. From Moja to the Shinder. To the Shinder. We will win. We will win. Together. Together. Now this is what I want you to do. I want you to put your hand in the air
and grab some of that black power. We're going to do 7 Harambe's. And we're pulling together. And the last one, they're going to head clear back into motherland. Because y'all the freedom fighters. They're going to win some victories. We're going to send them some energy here and all around the world where Africans are struggling for their liberation. Are you ready? Yes, sir. Harambe! 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 Peace and power, brothers and sisters. Reach out and touch somebody.
This is beautiful.
Oh, thank you, brother.
All right, everybody, remember, next Sunday, 4:30, Sister Kareem Yarbrough. We have food over here to the left. The cafeteria is open. The sister has some well-deserved and prepared food for you. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Okay, let me check with you. Yes, brother. Yes, let me go back there.